Hello, mere mortals of the Manchester area and the rest of the football world. The stock has risen in the Manchester area, and in terms of getting the Indian audience, there was a very popular dialogue which was around and about in the football Twitter, especially Tamil Twitter, which is Kansar ini Sarakano. Okay, so which means actually Kansar is actually red, which is a reference to it is a reference to the Telugu movie Salar. So Manchester is red, which was the highlight game of this Premier League game week, and with the rest of the game weeks combined, with this turned out to be a pretty interesting game week to discuss and to churn out many more points. And without much further ado, let's get started with the Liverpool Fulham game. So let's get started with Arvind here, who has joined us after a very long time. Hello, Arvind. Glad to
Hi
see you here
guys, hope everyone's good. Yeah,
after a
thank
very
you.
long time.
Thanks for having
So
me. Yep.
yeah, Arvind.
I mean,
So yeah,
yeah,
summarize your
mixed
thoughts about the
feelings. I'd
Liverpool
say.
game.
Mixed feelings.
Yeah,
I'd say. I mean,
yeah,
considering the title race and our current standing in the league, I'll say it's now been 4 points dropped from two games, and we've also seen Chelsea close the gap to just 2 points, albeit with us having a game in hand. It sets up a very interesting and intriguing second half of the season. But after looking at our situation post the 17th minute, I thought we would find it really difficult. And I had kind of given up and thought that, okay, we are going to lose the game. But Liverpool did extremely well to hold their own with 10 men. And looking at how the game progressed, I did think that we could have come out with the 3 points. But yeah, the fight and resilience shown by uh, Slot and his side has been really good. Yeah, and it also gives me optimism that Liverpool have the mental fortitude to overcome obstacles, and this could go a long way in terms of the title race in the second half of the season.
yeah. So hey, Arvind, thanks. So to translate your thoughts and to further elaborate on your thoughts, right? So I was pretty surprised at Honest Lord's management of the game after Robertson sent off. Okay, on a very basic level, after Robertson sent off, we would have been screwed. To be honest, from the bottom of my heart, if Jurgen Klopp was managing us and it was this match, would he have taken over? We would have been screwed. We would have lost like 2-4 or 1-3 or in that margin or so. But since Arne Slot has managed in this team since managed a team since the summer, I was pretty surprised having Robertson sent off because Robertson, as a player himself, he is not doing any favors for himself at this moment and for the team. Okay, his sluggish performances off late. He has conceded two penalties this season alone, which is altogether all the number of penalties combined in the last 7 seasons he's been at Liverpool. Okay, and he's had some very pretty sluggish performances over the season against even big teams, right? Against Real Madrid or Manchester City, whom we defeated very comfortably. And I like my heart breaks and my heart aches to say that he has become a liability. But if he continues the sluggish performances over the season, and if we keep him after the season too, and surely become a liability. It's time we slapped the 40 million on the table to Bournemouth's Milos Kerkez or like Anthony Robinson over Fulham, who just had a pretty tremendous game against us and who was literally screwing us all around through the left wing and right wing. He kept changing positions literally to expose our vulnerability. And since Robertson was also sent off and Trent is not also good at defensive positions and the defending transitions, he was pretty good at screwing both of our wings. So I think it's time we actually change our left back positions since we also have a credible backup in Simicas, right? So it's time we had fresh legs. Okay, so Anthony Robinson or Miller's Kirkis, slap 40 minutes on the table to Fulham or Bournemouth, get him in the winter or the summer. Let's get things started next year. Build the honest Slot's team from scratch. It's time we actually broke some accords and like Arne Slot how took over Jurgen Klopp's team. So I would pretty much say Robertson's stock is pretty much falling, and yeah, the stocks rising are Dominic Sobos. For me, Dominic Soboslai's stock and like how to say Cody Gakpo's stock is pretty much rising. The Cody Gakpo has had like 8 goals and assists in the last 10 games. Yeah, that's pretty much commendable, right? Given the high
Yeah.
quality game high pressure games that we have played in the last 1 month or so. So yeah, I would pretty much start Cody Gakpo or Diogo Jota or Darwin Nunes through this busy Christmas period, and then see the transition go off in the January or February period where Nunes can take over. So yeah, that was my pretty much summary of the Liverpool Fulham game. So Klasa and Rohit, any thoughts if you have seen the game?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you think Liverpool will get a Robertson replacement in January, or do you think you have enough b- to hold on between him and I think Simicas till the
Yeah,
summer?
to be
I
honest, we
think
have yeah, yeah.
Jan, it'll be difficult. I
Jan
don't
it's
think
pretty
we'll go
difficult.
for a
Yeah,
left back in January. So the position which I feel we could get cover for is either CDM or centre back. But definitely in the summer, left back is a position which Liverpool will look to strengthen. And yeah, Andy Robertson's performance suggests that it's kind of an end of an era because he's already 30, I believe, and the way
yeah,
he plays, the intensity and the energy he gives every game, it's not suited given the fact that he's getting old. And yeah, which we are now seeing with the silly mistakes which he's making in quite a lot of the games. And the most recent one against Fulham also was one where he received a red card because of the silly mistake. But yeah, I feel it's going to be us going for a left back in the summer, and maybe in Jan we'll look to secure the contracts of all three players, that's Trent, Mo, and Virgil. And I also feel that we could land a CDM if the correct opportunity arises.
yeah. And one more point I would like to put forward is this is where I reference Manchester City again and again throughout the times that we did the podcast. Okay, so our unwillingness to let go of this happy family theory that Liverpool have had over the years, right? It's becoming intolerable, to be honest. Manchester City continuously churn out the players that become unproductive for them over the years, and we've had the audacity. I don't know whether audacity is the really correct term here, but we really had the audacity to retain players just because they were really good and nostalgic to us in the past. Okay, it's actually if it was Manchester City, they would have literally predicted that Robertson's stock was falling, and they would have replaced him if not 1.5 seasons ago. Okay, so this is really hurting us, and this will hurt us in the near future if we go on continue if we continue this. So
But
yes,
Charlie, I feel we could see a shift in the approach because of Michael Edwards' return. So we know
yeah,
that he's pretty famous for like getting rid of the players who are reaching a certain age threshold, like say 30 or 31. We should also not forget that Edwards was the guy who wanted Henderson to leave right after the season when we won the Premier League. But then Klopp wanted him around, and we had to we extended his contract by 4 years, which was very detrimental to us, messing up really bad in the 22-23 season. But yeah, I hope we get rid of this emotional attachment we have with some of the players because right now, looking at the way Man City operate or looking at the way even Chelsea buy players, we need
yeah,
to be a bit ruthless to compete for titles on a year-on-year basis. We can't have this season wherein like we play very well in one season and then the next season it's a drastic fall off. We need to keep building from strength to strength and get rid of the liabilities in case we want to win titles successively or in consecutive seasons. So yeah,
yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah. I have
uh,
one question for
yeah.
possibly for the Liverpool fans here. Do you really think you will sign someone in this January window, considering you had such a
Uh,
quiet summer window? Because I genuinely feel this is the year where, if at all there is a title charge, you would go unopposed because of the gap that you have right now, and with other teams also faltering behind. So other teams, like for example, you are not going to see a City like this next year for sure. You're not
yeah,
going to see
definitely.
possibly even Arsenal faltering like how they have faltered this year, and possibly I hope United might be stronger, and you have other teams that are also going to be strong. So do you really think you will get Zubimendi before City might think that they need to get Rodri's replacement and they
I
sign
mean,
him?
Klasa, like, don't even get me started. We won the Champions League like 5 years ago, and we signed Adrian, just Adrian on the transfer window. Okay, and speaking of title charges,
Elliot also.
it gives me terrorizing flashbacks. Okay, let's just put the title charge. I mean, Liverpool fans have never spoken about title charges till now, according to my knowledge. Okay, let's just put that to rest. And then let's just focus on the transfers if at all we do something or sign someone. So I hope we sign someone, at least a credible backup. Let's see. That's it. And as Arvind mentioned here,
Because
moving
even
on,
the only
like
signing,
he referenced the yeah
because even the only signing that you
yeah
had,
yeah please
Kesa,
Kasa, yeah
is nowhere to be seen. So I'm not sure what happened to him.
yeah I mean he's
No,
proving
he
to be the
had
next
an
Nabi
issue.
Keita for us.
Not really, Charlie. I mean, that would be pretty harsh, I'd say, because looking at the way Chiesa's been injured at Juventus, he had the ACL, then he had a couple of niggling injuries, and
Yeah,
also given the fact that he wasn't played enough last season when he was at Juventus, and he also didn't have a proper preseason. He just joined, I guess, towards the end of the transfer window. So it makes sense to give Chiesa that comfort zone wherein he can build up his fitness, because we all know that I mean, the difference in intensity between the Serie A and the Premier League is just huge, and you just can't
yeah,
get in someone who's been injured for a long period of time to just get him in, and then tell him to start or play 2-3 games a week. So yeah, I think Slot and his backroom staff have been very intelligent in building up his fitness, giving him the time. And yeah, I hope he can play a pivotal part in a season, because we all know fit and firing Chiesa is a very dangerous player to come up against. And yeah, let's see what happens.
it's
That's the optimist in me speaking, but I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah.
Seriously.
Arvind, speaking of giving time to players and teams, right? We have our North London friends here who have just had a very large amount of time, if I'm being very considerable, who have just drawn to bottom table Everton, if I'm not wrong. So let's just move on to Rohit here. And Rohit, you just had a very excruciating draw against Everton, just a goalless draw. So how do you
Yeah.
sum up your reaction to that game?
Yeah, it was very frustrating to
Yeah,
not put even one goal past this Everton team, who have been pretty poor. Uh,
yeah,
it was, this was the second week in a row where we had a chance to make up the gap on Liverpool, and we just couldn't find it in the bag. In against Fulham, we got footballed. It was like a low effort shot that just went into the goal, and then we struggled to score. With Everton, we dominated the game, all aspects of the game. We didn't give Everton even a chance. Raya could have been sitting on a lawn chair, and he would have been fine. But we just couldn't find that breakthrough, even though we had like 1.3 expected goals, and we didn't have a lot of set pieces. Surprisingly, this game we only had 3 corners, and we didn't. Most of our good chances came from open play inside the box. We just didn't finish it. So I think we live to regret this particular game. Um yeah, I think there are not too many stocks rising from this game. If at all I had to give something, it would probably be to Miles Lewis Kelly for coming in, filling in at left back. He's a young guy, second consecutive start. He started against Monaco in Champions League. Did pretty well, but I think overall very disappointing from almost all the team. Uh, Stocks falling, just like Arsenal's finishing. It's just been a problem.
exactly.
We've not. I think we really need to splash the cash out in January if we are to get anything from this season. If we don't, and last season the same squad, like we scored a lot of goals, our most ever goals that we've scored in Premier League history. We've just not clicked, and we're putting too much burden on Saka. Martinelli has underperformed. Jesus looks lost. Like honestly, he was not performing last year, but that was injuries and there were a lot of season reasons. But this season, he just looks completely lost. I don't think he's long for the Arsenal squad. Like there's no way we are keeping him after summer. But we definitely need someone in January to shore up our attack. Otherwise, this season, it's we won't get anything. We're theoretically
Yeah,
still in 4 competitions in this season,
yeah.
but it'll be trophyless if we don't sign an attacker. Yeah,
Rohit, I just saw on like I don't know whether this is I can put this as a miserable stat. Okay, I just saw a stat that states Tarkowski and his centre back partner. I just suddenly couldn't strike who that is. They had 14 clearances in the game.
Branthwaite.
Yeah,
Branthwaite.
yeah, Branthwaite, the
Mhm.
young man. So Branthwaite and Tarkowski just had 14 clearances in the game, and that actually speaks a volume of words, right? I think Arsenal are becoming over reliant on corners, and also a fact that I noticed is young Martinelli, 22-year-old Martinelli, was facing 39-year-old Ashley Young and couldn't even complete 2 to 3 take-ons, which is really
Yep.
really quite miserable for an Everton who have been really struggling for the last decade or so, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
So how do you sum up your performance even against Fulham or Everton or going forward, even like keeping in mind the busy Christmas window and the New Year window that we're getting?
Yeah. So against Fulham, I think we created a lot more than we did against Everton. Fulham have usually play in a mid block. Marco Silva is a really good coach. Like I said, we got footballed in that game. I would have taken an out of the blue draw against them. With Everton, keeping in mind that Sean Dyche is a really good coach of the low block, the way you move a low block is you either find a dribbler who can go through the central spaces, somehow make his way into the box and score, or you overload one side, you do a quick cross into the half space, and you have a runner there who can finish off your chances. We tried the first part. We are always right hand side heavy because we have Odegaard there, we have Saka there, Timber plays there. Whom we really missed in this game is actually Ben White, because he's a much better overlapper than Timber is. Timber likes to come inside. So last time, that's how we beat Everton. We got a goal away against Everton because of a amazing overlapping run by Ben White. So we really missed him this game. So we did that first part right. We were getting the ball consistently on the right hand side, but our half space crossing was really poor to the far post. We weren't making enough runs. Mikel Merino and Martinelli had really poor games. And if they had shown a little bit more courage and conviction, we would have gotten at least one goal. So I think that's an area that Mikel Arteta needs to really fix. Again, like I said, we need someone in there. We made a gamble in the summer where we said, okay, if Jesus comes back to even 60% of what he was performing at, and Sterling shows some flashes of what we know he's capable of, we should be enough it should be enough to get us some points to take us till January or even till next summer. That gamble has clearly not paid off.
Yeah.
So I think a rethink is needed. We have to, if we don't, again, like I said, if we don't get someone in January, and I doubt we will, because Arsenal's board is very conscious about how we spend our money and things like that, this season might just be a wash. So even 3 weeks ago, I was of the opinion that if we are within 5 points of Liverpool in January, we'll take it till May. Now my optimism is slipping just because the reality has set in. I will also say that this is a weird season. Without getting too meta about it,
Yeah.
all the teams have shown that they are capable of dropping points. The league is just too good. It's just getting
Yeah.
better and better. So it might be one of those. And City have broken our brains for a bit. Like every season, they score like 90 points, 95 points, 97 points.
Yeah.
Liverpool kept pace with them, just falling short. That must have been such a heartbreak over the years, right? But that's not the normal in the Premier League. For those of us who've been following for a long time, we've seen this. Like 87 points usually won the league. I feel like this will be one of those seasons where any team over 86 points will probably win it. So there's a lot of football yet to be played. I'm not fully writing Arsenal out of it, but I feel they have a really, really uphill battle. And I personally feel it's Liverpool's title to lose.
Sure. I think 86 points shouldn't be a deal for any team to get in this Premier League with the title race that we have. Keeping in mind that I think Sir Alex Ferguson even won the title with Manchester United even with 71 points, if I'm not wrong. So, yeah, there used to be the times and this used to be the time. So, yeah, keeping off times.
I,
So, your West
no,
End.
no, I,
Yeah, class.
I have one more. I have one question, Rohit, for
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
What do you think? Like, see, it's what do you think has happened over the past 2 years, which has possibly caused Arteta to move from a free-flowing attacking football, which you played 2 years ago. Of course, you capitulated after being on the top for like 93% of the entire year, and then like bottling it to City, but still you are playing free flowing football, attacking football. You didn't rely on just one way to score. And
Yeah.
you had Martinelli firing, you had Saka firing, you had even Jesus firing at that time. And what
Yeah.
has caused him to completely deviate from this and play this kind of a football which Sean Dyche plays. Okay, so you're trying to beat Sean Dyche with his football, which you're not going to do because he has been doing it for like more than what Arteta has been doing.
Right. I think that's a completely incorrect assessment of the way Arsenal have played. So 22-23, that season, people were not taking Arsenal seriously the way people are not taking Chelsea as seriously this season. So teams aren't sitting low and blocking those teams, which is why we gave an illusion of playing free-flowing football. It's just that we were able to create a lot more opportunities back then. The other player that we had in 22-23 was Granit Xhaka. Mikel Merino has still not come up to his level because he's just been here for a few months. Xhaka was great at distributing the ball, and he was perfect for that left-hand side in that season. And we lost that title because we lost both Saliba and Tomiyasu in the same game against Sporting in Europe. Now, last season, again, we scored the max ever goals we've ever scored in a season. Like that happened afterwards. So we aren't playing, dice ball, as you put it.
No, I'm
And
saying
the
even
same,
for the last 2 seasons. I'm just saying for this year where your football level. So not just that. Okay, Rohit. I even have stats to say you are 13 points behind from what you were 2 years ago, and you're 10 points behind from what you
Yeah.
were last year ago, like
yeah,
last year. So the football is consistently downgrading right now, and it's evident to see for anyone who is seeing that you're not able to create anything from an open play. Of course, understandable that teams will sit and expect you to break the team, but I
right.
I
And it's not
genuinely
the only reason. I think the first 10 games of the season, we've had a very injury struck season, and Arteta's focus has very much been on not losing the games, not losing too much ground. I mean, the personnel available make and make or break your team, right? Odegaard wasn't available for a large chunk of these games. He's back. He's been a little inconsistent. Teams suffer a dip in form. I still feel that this team knows enough to have their free flowing football back. Like you can just see in the Champions League, the Sporting that thrashed Manchester City 4-1 was thrashed 5-1 by us. You can't just do that by set pieces alone. So set pieces, Arsenal are good at it. Any team would be stupid not to maximize their strengths there. So that's another strength area that we are maximizing in this interim period where we've had a lot of injuries and stuff. I feel like Arsenal are going to click again because we scored 3 against Nottingham. Again, we had some good wins in the league again, right? It's just about putting in a consistent run of results. After that, we'll see. I think the numbers will paint a very different picture in April.
Yeah. Speaking of a consistent run of results, Rohit, your West London neighbors have been really, really consistent over the last few weeks, right? I mean, having a 2-1 win over this really free flowing attacking Brentford is really, really good feat. Keeping in mind some really, really big teams have faltered to Brian Mbeumo and Evan Vissa's attacking ethics and stuff. So, to people who watched the Chelsea game, so how do you sum up Chelsea's attacking strength versus Brentford and how they've kept up with Brentford and how they look going into the Christmas winter and New Year winter and how they look for the title race?
I think for me, Chelsea are clearly in the title race. I think they have a better chance of challenging Liverpool
Yeah,
purely because of their squad strength rather than Arsenal, and also they have gotten through the tougher fixtures already, and their fixtures are
exactly.
comparatively easier when you see with other teams who are also trying to win or be in the title race right now. And just to say, uh, I think props to Maresca, but they are not underdogs as many people have pointed out, and even Jamie Carragher
Exactly.
has pointed out because they have spent 1.5 billion and they have 3 squads right now. But what you can give proper props to Maresca is he's rotated the squads properly and has identified the squads for different competitions correctly. So he knows which squad is going to play consistently for Premier League, which squad is going to consistently play for Europe, and which squads are
Crucial.
going to play for cup competitions as well. And he
Yeah.
has rotated them perfectly and kept them fit and ready so that they are all guns firing. And of course, as we mentioned even in the last week, players like Nkunku and other players might be a little discontent when they are not going to get the chance because everyone would want to play in the Premier League. But you're not going to take Palmer's place or Jackson's place when they're in like form right now. And the main issue is their front line is firing. So the only player you can possibly take out, possibly, is Madueke, but even he's actually in a very good form right now. And it's just that the team is undroppable and you don't need to change something that is already working right now. Their
Yeah,
200 million midfield, Enzo and Caicedo, they are
yeah,
just
right.
everywhere.
Yeah,
They're everywhere on the pitch. And the first 25 minutes that you watch, Enzo was almost everywhere pressing high and getting like he was winning every ball. And it didn't look like an Fernandez from last year, who looked
exactly.
like a mere shadow of the player that Chelsea played 100 million for.
I mean,
And I
yeah,
think
plus
with this,
echoing your opinion. Yeah, Rohit, give me one sec. So,
yeah,
plus echoing your opinions, right? So, I am really in awe of Enzo Maresca's tactics and how he actually shuffles the entire squad, right? So, like he has Renato Vega, Axel Disasi, Carney Chukwuemeka for cup competitions in the Conference League or Europa League, if I'm not wrong. And he has the main players Enzo, Saicedo, all of the Badiashile, the Gusto, and all of these players for the Premier League, and he rotates them constantly and gives them game time too. So I'm really in awe of Enzo Maresca and how he has a really bloated squad, if we are being honest, and how he's able to manage this really effectively, giving game time and keeping everyone fit and keeping all their morale very boosting too. So, yeah, just after managing Leicester City for 1 year and just managing a squad of Chelsea's caliber and stuff, Enzo Maresca is building himself a really, really good resume for his career, if we are being honest. And yeah, I think Chelsea are really, really in the title race, and they can't really play Real Madrid's cards sometimes, where Real Madrid play the underdog card. Just being they aren't in a title race, and they aren't in a title race, but somehow in March or April they'll win in the title race. So Chelsea really are in the title race. I like okay, if we're being honest, currently I would put Chelsea above Manchester City to be in the title race because yeah, next up we are gonna come to the main event. So any
yeah,
thoughts?
well,
Any other
if,
thoughts on that?
yeah, yeah. I think one thing that I would like to point out again is what Chelsea have, keeping in mind the 1.5 billion spent. They have a
Yeah,
good squad that's finally clicking. I mean, if you can't get the squad to click, that's really on you as a manager, which is what, like Pochettino, I would blame him for that.
yeah,
And towards the end of the season, like he was actually doing a good job. Chelsea were underperforming their numbers quite a bit last season. So this season, they are actually coming close to where they should be in terms of, all their stats. Brentford have been really, really good at home. They are the best home team side in the season so
yeah,
far, but their away
Yes.
performances have been really inconsistent. So that's one thing. Uh, again, and I also feel like Chelsea are getting the benefit of the same thing that an upcoming squad comes like again 22-23 Arsenal comes in mind, right? People never expected Arsenal to challenge for the title,
yeah.
didn't give them enough respect. Same thing I believe is happening with Chelsea. The
Chelsea, yeah,
second half of the season will actually tell us where they stand. I also place them above City in this year, but if Arsenal can be a little bit more consistent, I see them overtaking Chelsea for sure because Chelsea is just too young. They've not been in this for a while. So I suspect some, faltering. And the other last thing that they have in their advantage is they're playing the Conference League. They play like a Thursday game against Beat Farmers FC in like Kazakhstan or some place like that. They
exactly.
can play like their kids and get away with it, right?
Yeah,
Even if
And
they
not
come really close to the title, when they play real teams in Europe, that's when they will find it really tough. Even in the later stages of the Conference League, because a lot of these clubs, they might have given up their domestic hopes and they're putting in all their, they're putting in, going all in on the Conference League. They might find it tougher than they're finding it now. So the real picture will come into place in like late March and April. But
I think
Even the
credit when it's
defense
due,
and
they're doing
keeper
really good.
yeah,
Even the defense and keepers for Chelsea in comparison to say Arsenal or Liverpool, there's a huge difference between
Yep.
the players who make that particular backline because you, as Sir Alex already said before, that attack wins you games, defense wins you titles. So I feel it's going to be uh, that team which defends the best, which is going to win the league this season. Because as Rohit had already mentioned before, teams are looking to. I mean, the teams look like they could drop points at any point of the season, and it's not like Man City are in a brilliant run of form wherein they will hit into fifth gear and they'll start winning all games and go on a 20-game run. Sorry, winning run. So yeah, like there are advantages, there are disadvantages, which does set up for a very interesting second half of the season.
I think what Chelsea is lacking is a proper right-sided centre back because they have a very good centre back in Levi Colwill,
Yeah.
and they do have Gusto who is very good on the right side, and they do have Kukureya who's again good, who had of course a brain fade in the last dying minutes of the game.
That was my
Uh,
stock falling for this game.
Yeah.
What? The referee who
Yeah.
didn't spot that was an obvious dive.
Yes.
Come on,
Yeah. Obvious
yeah,
type. Yeah.
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. I think I think that's a good
Cla-
segue, Charlie,
cla-
for
cla-
possibly
yeah. The main
he might
event
have.
class. So
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, like how to say it's for like keeping Liverpool in the picture itself, right? So we are the David, they have been with Goliath, right? Liverpool and Man City have been pretty much the David and the Goliath for the last 4 to 5 seasons, and keeping Manchester City's run in form, like the three, four L's, two D's, one win and stuff, that might very well be town's name in Scotland. Okay, so yeah, when they're
Wales,
run up,
You
yeah,
mean
Wales or
Wales?
Scotland,
Wales,
Wales or
not Scotland.
Scotland, yeah, Wales or Scotland or Northern Ireland, whatever be it. They definitely may have a town named like that, but yeah. So their run of form has definitely been deteriorated more by Manchester United. So Manchester United indeed has been red this weekend. So Klasa, how would you summarize your performance and going forward? Yeah, Ahmad, and like before you even dive in, Ahmad Diallo. I mean, what a player he has been this weekend, man. Come on, yeah, seriously. I was in awe of his performance, to be honest. Yeah,
Contract
yeah,
up in
Klasa.
summer 2025.
Yes,
They better
Yeah,
sign him up.
his contract is up, but we do
yeah,
have a year extension that we can do. But he's certainly going to stay. He has said that he
yeah.
loves it at United and he wants to stay. But yeah, like I wanted to start it because Kukureya might have learnt it from Walker on diving without a reason. Uh, might have learnt acting from the previous game. So he saw that and thought he'll get away with that against Brentford. But yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle Walker, you are shit, and you should be ashamed of what you did. Okay, I'm just channeling my
Touche,
inner Roy Keane here. I'm just
touche,
channeling my
touche.
inner
Yeah,
Roy Keane, inner Roy Keane here. But yeah,
yeah.
just speaking about the game, of course, what it was 87 minutes of agony followed by 3 to 4 minutes of just ecstasy, pure ecstasy, I would say. So
Yeah.
we were just like this is possibly one of the most boring Manchester derbies, I would say. But yeah, as long as we win, I take it. And United
Yeah.
got all the 3 points. And as Peter Drury said, it was the Diallo derby, and he made sure that United could win. And possibly, I think uh, Amorim, this win was needed mainly for Amorim purely because he had to justify his decision of dropping Garnacho and Rashford, and he needed this win mainly to stamp his authority with the squad to say like, hey, this is the team. You either listen to me and do what I have to say, otherwise you are out of the team, no matter who you are. So I think in that aspect, Amorim needed this win mainly, but purely from the game's perspective itself, if you see, I was extremely surprised when City sat back entirely for the second half. Not like they were happy to give us the ball and say like try and beat us if possible, which I think ultimately played into their into our hands because the moment Bruno missed that one-on-one, everyone had just had that like perception that okay, City can be now beaten, and considering that we have seen City drop a 3-0 lead against Feyenoord. They are not the same City that you are used to. They don't have that main cogwheel in between Rodri, who is protecting
Yes.
Diaz or Stones. And without that, they are just any other side right now. So they are not that mighty City again that you have to fear. So all it took was just to like they were happy to give us the ball. Lisandro Martinez ultimately found that ball to Diallo, which I think that is one of the best touches I have ever seen. So like that touch
Yeah.
to take the ball away from Ederson and
Exactly.
then score it past Guardiola, I think was amazing. And also, I think it is justified purely because I was surprised that Hoyland did not get that penalty. It was a blatant
Yeah.
penalty
Yeah.
you would see in any game, and I was surprised. They said you cannot award this as a penalty in this game. Like I'm surprised. When did like the concept of this game come into
Yeah.
picture? A game is
I
a
mean,
game, a foul is a foul.
Mike Dean has always been a controversial person in and off the pitch. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
him. He said it was not a penalty.
yeah,
That was a penalty, to be honest. That was a clear foul inside the box.
Clear cut penalty.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
a clear penalty, and I'm just happy that uh, somehow we again won a penalty, and I'm happy Bruno scored because I think Bruno would have been hitting himself for that miss that he had. So ultimately speaking, great day. I just hope we do Arsenal a favor and beat Spurs on Thursday.
that's always a good
Yeah.
day. So would you give? So if you had to give two stocks rising and two stocks falling,
I
and
think
it does not have to be a
I, I'm
United player.
I think I'm not going to give Diallo the stocks rising because it's very evident. I want to give it to two other players who did another good job. One is Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire was amazing. He pocketed
Yeah.
Haaland
Yeah.
all game. I think Amorim also like gave him a lot of praise because I think this system fits him perfectly because this is what he's used to playing for England as well. So that three-man defense gives him an extra layer of protection, which he does not give when he plays in a two-man defense. One is for Harry Maguire, and the other one I want to give for Manuel Ugarte. Manuel Ugarte was again amazing. He's consistent. You can rely on him, uh, which is not something that you can say for many of the United players. So yeah, these two players,
Once.
and possibly for stock falling, I would say Diego Dallo. I'm little hesitant to give this, but considering the season that he had last year, he has been not so consistent. He's playing out of position as well on the left side, where we need another player right now, which I hope we strengthen in January. And another stock falling, I would say, is possibly it hurts me a lot, but it has to be Marcus Rashford because he has become a scapegoat, I would say. But I think if Amarim and the club feel this is the right way to change the culture, I think his stock has fallen a little bit. Um and also to give some context, he's put for sale in January, hoping that it can help the finances to fund other
Yeah.
areas in the squad as such. So, yeah,
Yeah, with respect to the stocks rising rate, I would also give a card to Guardiola Plaza because Guardiola has always been a very reliable centre back for Manchester United. He's been a ball playing centre back rather than ball carrying centre back, and he's also hit like many important goals this season. I think he's up like 5 or 6 goals in just 14 games or 15 games. So
he
he's been a
scored
very
more goals
reliable.
than Foden. He scored more goals than Foden, De Bruyne, others as well. So
Exactly.
they
So
yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I
please
think
say.
if you have to give stocks falling, I think you can give stocks falling to almost everyone in City except
City.
Guardiola, possibly because
Exactly.
it was a shambolic performance. I think if you see the game itself, it was just played. You just split the field in half. Everything happened on the left side for City, which is the right side for United. The
Yeah.
other half was not even exploited entirely throughout the game. So for example, Bernardo Silva, who is such an influential player, he had only around 14 or 15 passes the entire game. Like that just shows you how much of the game was just concentrated on one side of the pitch. And the moment there is a quick switch available, the other side is completely open for you to exploit. And that is what United tried to do the entire second half. They kept the ball, they just circulated it internally. They were trying to hit that one long ball which someone can control, hold, and then run through the channel and then try to squeeze one either as, let's say, a late cutback or directly take a shot at Ederson. And that is what they tried once with Hoyland, which didn't get a penalty. They tried it a couple of times more, and the last winner was also as a result of that when Ahmad ran through the channel and in between where he had the space between Guardiola and Nunes, and that's how he got the winner as well.
Yeah. it makes me think of the times where Manchester City versus Liverpool used to be concentrated on just one side of the game, where Sane and David Silva used to take control of the ball. Like everyone used to pass them the ball every single time, and then just because Trent Alexander-Arnold and Wijnaldum were poor in defensive actions and defensive transition, so and then the right side was literally non-exploitable. So yeah, it reminds me of the times where Guardiola used to apply the same tactic to against Big 16. So yeah, not surprised that Guardiola has been really shambolic since I think his time has come up, and him signing the contract has really become a big liability for him in Manchester City. Like to keep on proving. It's been I think the oil has run out in the engine. That's
No,
all
I
I
think I think
feel.
I
Yeah,
think as much as you might have to blame the manager, some of the blame has to be sent to City's board as well. They didn't rejuvenate the squad in the manner they have to. And
exactly.
also, I think the recruitment in City's side, I don't want their recruitment to be good, but purely seeing from like a
Yeah,
practical standpoint, they have signed Doku, they have signed Savinho, who are not ready-made for title challenges right now. They
yeah.
signed players like Mahrez, Sane, who were there before, who could win them the title immediately. I think they will have a small rebuild, I would say. Pep will sign three more or four more players either in January or possibly even during summer,
Mm.
and he will remove the core of Dubrana. He'll possibly replace Stones as well, and he'll try to again rebuild the squad from scratch. And that's how I think he'll go forward. He'll also replace Bernardo Silva, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
it's actually
mean,
going to be really
to
interesting to see how Pep does a rebuild, because whenever he's like been at a club as a manager, he's had some really, really good talented player. Like even when he took over, right, they had like the core of Fernandinho, and I think David Silva was still there when he played, and Aguero was still there when he first joined. So you have those, and it's the same with Slot, for example. You have like world beaters in your team already. It's easy to add things to that team, but to kind of gut the team and do a rebuild, it takes a lot of work. So I'm curious to see how Pep gets along. I mean, I don't think he'll be sacked, but who
not
knows?
happening.
Football is a
No,
weird game.
I no,
No, this is where Siki comes into picture. What I felt is Siki not being in City next season could also play a role
Hmm.
as to why things are unraveling at City pretty quickly. Because I think there could also be an element wherein he doesn't give. I mean, he's not too concerned about what's going to happen beyond this season as he's leaving. But then, yeah, the transition from Siki to Hugo Viana, that will be a pretty interesting thing to look at next season, because Hugo Viana has also got this approach of unearthing some really good talents. He's got some really good players in Sporting. I think he was a guy who got Ugarte, then Jokeres and all
yeah.
to Sporting. So it will be an intriguing thing to see as to how the transition from Siki to Hugo Viana will take place at City. And if Pep stays, then we could see City back in action next season itself. But one more thing which we have to take into account are the charges. So people basically don't know what exactly is going to be the outcome of the case. So in most circumstance, in all probability, I feel City will escape. But then, if there is a chance where City are punished really badly, then it could alter a lot of things, and this could have a cascading effect on what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, regardless of whether it's punished or not, what the outcome is, there's just uncertainty, which for a player who
Correct.
wants to join a club like City will make them hesitate. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
after selling off Alvarez and players like us, they sold off somebody else, and without replacing them of players with equal caliber, right? You are doomed to fall like this. Come on, yeah, that's it. So, yep, I think that's all it is for this week. The next two big games after this game week, next game week, Manchester City face Aston Villa and Manchester United face Tottenham Hotspur. Will City carry on with their naming of the Welsh town, or will Manchester United keep carry
No,
on
I
with
don't
their
think
bubble
United.
patch?
No, no,
We
United is
play
playing.
we play Spurs.
Yeah, we
We
play
play
Spurs
Spurs.
at Carabao Cup. which is a midweek game.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, let's see whether United carry on with this purple patch. And yeah, Pep Guardiola isn't gonna get sacked, guys. Come on. Like I smell
No
250 million
chance.
euros. I smell 250 million euros coming in through Daddy Shake. Come on. That's it. Yeah. They are getting
Double
good
it.
business. Yeah,
Double it.
that's it. Okay. See ya. See ya, guys. See ya
thank
next
you.
week.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
Bye
guys.
bye.
Bye.